I want to talk, and I think a lot of people want to hear about like your work with some of the artists, kind of like in your discography as a producer.
Okay.
But what I thought would be really nice to know about is like, what's your approach to like crafting and creating a sound when you're working with an artist?
Right. So I never wanted to be a producer. I wanted to be a rock star, and I'm still working on it. I think I'm close to a breakthrough. But at some point in New York, that time I moved there and I learned digital audio, like one person said, like, I heard you can record stuff. And I said, yeah, here's my songs. And they said, oh, that's cool. Would you record my band? So I recorded their band, and their drummer told someone else, and pretty soon all these people were coming down into my studio for me to record. And it was kind of great because for the first time, other than the grunge explosion, I was like making money and living in New York and able to pay for taxis and rent. So production was very handy to keep going working on my music. And I decided if all these people are going to trust me and pay me to record them, then what would I have wanted as a musician when I went in the studios? Sometimes I did go in studios when I was young. I'd save all my money and go to a 24-track studio, and I noticed that the people in the studios, they acted like these stuck-up experts, you know, like, Gordon, you might do that at home, but that's not how you do things here. You know, they're always talking me out of my ideas, basically. So I thought, if I'm going to be a producer, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each artist that comes in my studio, like, what do you want to do? Even before we go to the studio. Now, I'd get a chance to write emails and have Zoom calls back and forth. So I thought, so what are we doing here? Like, what's on your mind? What would you like to do? What do you like to listen to? So I find out what they want to do, and then I thought, I'll be the kind of producer that helps them get their ideas across. You know, I'm not going to like sit there and go, the Gordon Raphael method is to use this microphone and stick it on this kick drum, and you use this preamp set here every time. Like, fuck that. It's like, oh, you want to sound like pure garbage flying through space? Okay, I can do that. I'll take an SM57 and put it 2 blocks down the road, and then you play your drums and we'll capture that, you know, whatever. So I decided my approach is very much individual, and it's really fun. And I find almost every musician that comes to work with me has tons and tons and tons of their own ideas, and they've been developing these songs for months and rehearsing with their band, playing shows. They know what they're doing, generally speaking. It's very rare that I ask for a demo ahead of time. Like I might say, not even of the song we're working on. If a band wants to work with me, I say, show me what your music sounds like. They'll send me to some old stuff. And generally, I like what they're doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't work with a band, no matter for how much money. If I didn't like the music they were making, I couldn't stand to sit in a chair hearing through speakers hours on end of some singer that I couldn't stand their voice, saying lyrics that I couldn't stand, or playing music I thought was just really drivel or copycat. So I already kind of screened the process where I'm going to like what I'm working with. And then when I get these people in the studio, they have so many ideas that are great that I let them show me what they want to do. And occasionally I have an idea. Like after I hear what they want to do, I say like, hey, what if a UFO landed in the middle of your guitar solo? And they go, huh? What does that mean? And I get my synthesizer like, like that, and I put it on there, and sometimes they go like, yeah, man, that's great. And sometimes they go, no, that's not our sound at all, sorry. And I erase it, you know.
With that in mind, like how much control do you get in those projects as a producer, and like what's that relationship look like in terms of the collaborations?
So if I started a long time ago recording, by this time I figured out like hundreds and hundreds of different ways to do things. Like I have so many techniques and tricks and things I remember, especially things that sounded good. So basically, a guy comes in my studio, I never met him before, I've heard some of his old demos, and I set up the mics on the drums. And I have a I wrote a book, I don't know if you know this, I have a book, that's kind of why I'm here. The book talks about like my secret tricks and how I learned what I learned. And one of the things I learned is it's a really good idea to set up the whole studio before the band comes, a day before, or have someone do it in the morning, because if the band comes in and everything's ready to record, they play like gods, okay? if a band comes in and they have to sit for 4.5 hours while some guy like tries to fix a broken cable that worked last week, and things are going like, okay, slowly setting up all these wires. By the time the band is ready to record 4 hours later, they've already started drinking beer because they're bored. They're like hungry. They're a little tired. Their energy level's gone down. And that's where you're going to start recording to impress them and impress yourself? No way. Why not have them start recording like at 11 in the morning after an hour of sound checking because everything's working, all right? So the mics will already be set up. I've thought about it ahead of time. The guy puts his drums where they go. He tunes them the way he wants. I look where he's tuning them, and I might adjust where the tom-tom mic is and put everything so it looks really cute and perfect. And then I'll go, okay, play the kick drum. And I listen to the kick drum. I don't use EQ, I don't use compressor. I just put a microphone in front of the kick drum, one inside and a meter in front of it. That's a condenser microphone that's blown to shreds with distortion and compression that just gives like a abstract painting of the kick drum to add into those other clean, responsible mics, okay? So then I record, I like listen to the kick, snare, hi-hat, tom, tom, okay, play the beat of the song, and then I say, play the beat of the song again, and I press record. This is all, takes like maybe 15 minutes from the time the guy sat down with his kit tune. 15 minutes later, he's playing the beat of the song and wondering why I've asked him to do that. And I say, come here. And he comes into the studio, and the rest of the guys are behind me, and I say, hey, check this out, and I play the drums. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, the drummer goes like, whoa, that's really cool. And the rest of the guys in the band are like, yeah, dude, we're doing this. They're really happy. And then if they don't like it, they go like, oh, I'm using the wrong snare drum. Let me use my other snare drum. And I hate that ride cymbal. Let me swap it out for the ride cymbal. So it's always like that. It's either they love it or they hear something they got to do differently themselves. They don't go like, how come the hi-hat sounds so wimpy? They don't like question my technique. It's just some microphones in front of the drums. Ones I happen to remember sound good on a cymbal, good on a snare, which is like 57 and a 57, and then the third mic, what they call the crotch mic or the verse mic over the kick drum. So this is how I control, right? I've chosen the microphones, I put them where I want to, but I don't need to talk about that stuff. The proof is when the guy comes in, I want to hear if he likes it. And if he doesn't like it, I will do something different, or he can do something minorly different. So I don't know if I call that control, but it's kind of a combination of control and interaction. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. I suppose what I was thinking about is like, when it gets to the creative side of things, when it is more of like you're an active contributor to like...
Me?
Yeah, like if that happens...
On my own music or their music?
On their music, because I think that's, like you were saying, you don't want to necessarily be...
I'll tell you 2 different stories. I'll tell you one more. I told you the one where I make a UFO land in the middle of the solo. In that case, if the band likes it, then I'm really happy. And if they don't like it, I'm not going to fight for it. I had a weird idea in the middle of their song. But I've had this situation happen a number of times where on Tuesday, the lead guitar player says, now I need to do the solo on this song. And he works for a while and he gets a few half takes and we edit something together. And it's like, I think it's phenomenal. And he thinks it's really great and everybody's really happy. And that's all good. And then the next day he comes back and we're going to work on some other songs. And he says, hey, you know that solo we did yesterday? I think I want to try a different one. And, as the professional, I should go like, yes, here, the microphones are already set up. But the teenager in me, the music fan, takes over. This little emotional guy comes out and I go like, oh, really? Oh, it was so good though, man. It was so good. Like, it had so much energy. No, I need to do it better. I can do it better. And I roll my eyes and okay, go out there. And I I'm participating. And then he does this new solo where he tries to do the same solo better. I'm going like, oh, Jesus. It's not even the same sound. It's a much weaker sound. He sounds like he's really like, now he's all uptight about it. I hear this. There's nothing nice about this. And like he'll come in and go, yeah, there, that's the solo I want. And I go, no, dude, you took all the magic out. I'm like fighting like a teenager, like totally unprofessional, but it's his music, it's his solo, but suddenly I'm all emotionally invested about it. Now, sometimes when that fight happens, that emotional confrontation, I play him the old solo and the new solo, and him and his bandmates go, oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, the old solo has got something, and we keep it. And sometimes, no matter how hard I complain and stomp my feet, the guy goes, dude, I just don't like that sound, and those aren't the notes I wanted to play. This is the one. And when they get to that point, I'm always like, it's your music, I'm the producer, and I back down. At that point, I back down. But I have been known to put up those little emotional hissy fits when something that I really like is about to be erased and replaced with something that I feel is less potent.
In your time as a producer, like,
Yeah.
what would you say the ratio is where you step in and you say, like, I think we should leave it as is, and you win?
These days, it's very rare. These days, it's all very rare. I mean, I get fired sometimes. I get fired from jobs. Like, I produced this really incredible band in Norway, and I set up all the stuff, and I recorded for 2 days, and on the third day, the leader of the band took me aside and said, hey, Gordon. I go, yeah? He goes, I thought you were going to do all that Phil Spector shit and show me how to do that. I go, Phil Spector shit? I don't know how to do Phil Spector. He said, you just basically put microphones in front. I could do that. He said, why don't you turn more knobs? I said, I do turn knobs, but only when I have to. Like, I know how to turn knobs, but sometimes you just stick a microphone in front of an amp and it sounds like Godhead, it sounds great. And if you put it an inch to the left, it also sounds good. And if you put it up, it sounds good. And if you put 2 mics on it and one halfway across the room, it sounds great. So I just have an inner register where I want to record great stuff, but sometimes it doesn't take that much effort. Just stick a microphone by it, and the guy plays it cool. It's how he plays it. It's the idea, You could have the best microphone on the most expensive snare drum, and if the guy can't play an interesting beat, you've got nothing, right? On the other hand, you could take a 57 and point it at a drum and another one at a kick drum, and if you've got a drummer who can groove like hell, you've got a killer beat, So it happens sometimes that I'm fired, and it happens sometimes that I don't get my way in the studio, but it's very rare.